Educational Communications and this station present Environmental Directions with Nancy Pearlman. On this series, we explore the effects of human influence on the Earth's ecosystems and discuss solutions to environmental problems which affect the quality of life on this planet. Environmental Directions gives you the kind of information you need to help you participate in decisions impacting your community, the nation, and the world. Now, here's your host, Nancy Pearlman.
Hello. My guest is Danielle Parsons. She is a science artist and founder of the streaming app WonderScience. She's an avid explorer of the smaller realms, a member of the Microscopical Society of Southern California, and of the Lorquin Entomological Society. She is the recipient of the Nikon Small World in Motion Award for Video Microscopy and is a New York State Council for the Arts Filmmakers Grant honoree. Her work has been exhibited at numerous festivals, museums, and galleries. Danielle recently opened the first science museum in the Metaverse. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Nancy. It's really an honor to be here.
I have gone to your website, WonderScience.com, and saw absolutely gorgeous pictures and videos of butterflies, gems, ants, and even snowflakes. You show a variety of nature from a perspective that most of us don't look at. You use your microscopic lens?
Yep, thank you very much for that. I use my microscope. I attach cameras to, and I use macro lenses, like in filming ants, and different techniques to be able to see things closer from a new perspective.
Let's talk about some of the wonderful videos. I just was mesmerized watching the butterflies. When they come into my neighborhood, I look at them and they might land and sit there for 30 seconds and they're off. Yet you did some slow motion. What butterflies did you take pictures of, and what did you find so exciting about them?
Thank you. Butterflies are beautiful. We normally see them just for 30 seconds flitting through the garden. I like to show the things we all really like a lot, to show butterflies flying for 30 minutes in slow motion. I was really fortunate to collaborate on that piece, or most of it, with the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles in their butterfly pavilion. So I brought in a phantom slow-motion camera, and we filmed in there for an afternoon and filmed some caterpillars and a chrysalis. It was lovely seeing them in a macro perspective, go from flower to flower. And I also, in that the butterflies video, have some really cool footage from a university in Japan. They did a study where they put butterflies inside of a chamber filled with tiny oil droplets suspended in the air. When they released a single butterfly in this chamber, and they filmed in high speed, like I did, but they were able to see the displacement of air because of the oil particles would move. They could see sort of the wake flap of the butterfly, and they found out all this interesting stuff about how the butterfly flies and how important the body posture is. And then the third part of that is a butterfly I found in Big Sur, the beautiful California sister butterfly, super colorful.
And you also showed some videos of landscapes, including Big Sur and the Everglades, but I certainly want to support and recommend your participation with the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County and their butterfly pavilion, because it's so exciting to go in there and have hundreds of butterflies all flying around you and landing on you. And it is an exciting experience that I recommend for everybody to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And you provide this in what you call the Metaverse. What is that?
That is actually a new endeavor for me. In 2021, I've gotten involved with the Metaverse and NFT art. This is basically a really exciting new frontier where it's all these digital worlds mapped The metaverse is a bunch of digital worlds that people are building. In ways they resemble the regular worlds, but people have avatars and spaces, and it's basically like our world, but created with imagination. And it's a shared space that is virtual. So it involves VR and virtual space, augmented reality, and the internet. In one of the metaverse digital worlds called Cryptovoxels, I've built a science museum for WonderScience. It's sort of part of making art on the blockchain as NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens.
Fortunately, I could just go and click on your website and see some beautiful nature and didn't need to get so involved in all that new technology, which must be exciting for some younger people. You have also utilized not just your own video, but when you showed the selenite crystals, you used some videos that were taken in Chihuahua, Mexico. Those crystals are in a cave that scientists took pictures of, but yet that cave has reflooded and one can't go in and see them anymore?
That's correct. In Chihuahua, Mexico, they discovered the world's largest known cave of selenite crystals, which look similar to quartz. They're translucent white ones, but like a geode, but giant. You could walk 150 feet on top of one of the spheres of this crystal. And they found several caves, took all the water out, and different teams of scientists went in there with serious gear because it was so hot in the cave for brief periods of time and studied it and documented it. And I licensed a little bit of footage that in that video I looped over and over. It's really stunning, and it since has filled up with water again, so we know it's there. It just really makes me astounded by like the beauty of Earth and the fact that we live on this gem-encrusted ball of fire. To me, to see something like that cave or, you know, any mineral specimens is such a delight.
You have also taken video of snowflakes. I've heard that each one is unique and different, and yet if I touch a snowflake, it turns into water, and if it lands, it turns into water. So you have to photograph them as they're falling from the sky?
That's one way to do it. You can also film them outside after they land when it's still really, really cold out. Or, like those snowflakes in the video, which I did not photograph, the macro snowflakes. Those were done by Kenneth Liebrecht at the California Institute of Technology. He's an ice scientist. He built an ice chamber where those are designer snowflakes that he created in the ice chamber, then photographed, and he lit them differently with different colors. So you'd see like magenta and blue, highlighting the crystals as sort of six-sided, symmetrical, beautiful crystals. And he was able to produce a really wide variety, hundreds. He gave me 700 photos to put together the piece that I put together, which is very simply a zoom through the center of hundreds of snowflakes while you're listening to some music, but was strangely challenging to do in a 3D environment. There's a bacterium that starts many snowflakes that is alive. It basically encourages the snowflake to form around its body sooner than a snowflake would otherwise. Then it uses this beautiful crystalline parachute hang glider to get heavy enough to fall from the clouds down to the earth, and then the snowflake will melt and the bacterium's alive and can eat and reproduce, and then get swept back up into the sky or the next generation and do it all over again.
You certainly love the small world and bringing it to life via photography and your art. You also love insects, and most of them are small. You're active as a member of the Lorquin Entomological Society. You're a member of the Microscopical Society of Southern California. But in addition to showing these insects, and they are fascinating when you see their structure, their body, their shapes, their colors, you also are concerned about conserving them. So many people think of insects, oh, they're bugs, you got to kill them. But the mass die-off of insects is actually bad for the entire ecosystem because they're at the bottom of the food chain, and birds and mammals and other creatures depend on them for their survival, and we depend on these larger animals for our survival, as well as the plants, which are so dependent on the insects for pollination and other purposes.
Yep. It's a serious situation with the insect die-off. Right now, we are in the sixth mass extinction event on Earth, the Holocene Extinction, that we have, say, 1 million species disappearing. Half of those species are insects, and they're disappearing at a rate of 8 times other animals and plants right now. This is really a crisis. People have started reporting on it and putting out scientific studies, and it is really dangerous because food chains depend on insects for food. We depend on bees and butterflies to pollinate our crops. Flowers depend on pollination by insect pollination, and also we need insects to recycle dead material, and we rely on them for aerating the soil. They perform a lot of essential functions, and without them, it's going to be like an ecological catastrophe. They're saying within 100 years at this rate of die-off, we could be without insects. I really hope to increase people's appreciation for insects, because when people care about something, they want to protect it. If we could understand and appreciate the wonder of insects more, and there's a ton there. They're some of the most bizarre life forms on Earth, and ingenious, almost incredible adaptations that they've evolved, and their sensitivity, their beauty, their behavior, their cooperation. It's truly unrivaled.
For people to see and enjoy and learn more about all that you have provided, where do they go?
Anywhere that they're watching media. People could go to WonderScience.com. They could see it on the WonderScience YouTube channel, anywhere they watch streaming TV. So it's on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV. It's mobile on an iOS app, and shortly will be on Android, and they can go to the Metaverse.
In addition to looking outside and seeing all the beautiful natural features, from geology to gems to plants, animals, including those insects, we also have to work to preserve and protect them. What are you recommending?
The Natural Resources Defense Council, NRDC, has a really great pollinator protection program that I, as WonderScience, like to support. And when I sell science art on the blockchain, I donate a portion of my proceeds to that pollinator protection program. And I encourage anyone to do the same, and I encourage everyone to write to their congresspeople to request that they protect insect species and reduce the use of harmful pesticides.
I've talked to many scientists. They have told me that we haven't identified, we don't even have a specimen in the natural history museums of all the insects on the planet. And I assume that that's the same situation in terms of taking a picture of them and having a photographic record. How many insects have been documented and how many haven't?
That's a really important point, and so true. I mean, if we don't know about them, even after we know about them, doesn't mean we've documented them. Millions. I recently heard about, now this is an invertebrate, but micro snails that were in, like, Myanmar. And they had a fascinating reverse coil to their shells, so it was very interesting to mathematicians. And this was just discovered, and as it was discovered, they were disappearing. It's like brief windows where we could even see these things in the first place. To marvel at them, understand them, and perhaps protect them, perhaps benefit in terms of medicines that could be developed, all kinds of ways.
Even here in Southern California, in the urban environment, even in our homes, ants crawl in, we see them inside, we see them outside. There are many different shapes, many different sizes, many different species. How difficult is it to video them?
It's tricky, that's for sure, because they move really fast, and your field of depth of focus when you're shooting macro on their scale is so narrow. so it's challenging to film them, that's for sure.
In your work, you focus on the small. How small do you get? We know that fungus and bacteria are really tiny, and you need that microscope to get pictures of those.
Yeah, I, for whatever reason, find that I'm interested in looking closer and closer and at smaller and smaller levels of scale. So starting with bugs, then I got interested in some of the microbes inside, specifically inside of termites, and filming those microbes. Yeah, I don't know if it's the elegance of the smaller scales or just the complexity and the alien-looking life forms that you encounter looking through the microscope, but I always want to look closer. For instance, I'm doing a quantum project now, so I'm looking at the first 100 billionths of a billionth of a second of photosynthesis and discovering that that's like a super quantum process. Yeah, the focus narrows further and further in my work to get to the truth.
I'd like to thank you so very much for providing this beautiful artwork of nature, and thank you for being my guest.
Well, it's been such a pleasure.
I have been speaking to Danielle Parsons, a science artist and founder of WonderScience. I'm Nancy Pearlman. Thank you very much for joining us, and do tune in again next week.
If you would like free information about these environmental issues, go to www.ecoprojects.org or call 310-559-9160. Environmental Directions with your host, Nancy Pearlman, is a community affairs program of the nonprofit organization Educational Communications and this station.